Good evening. I welcome all of you to the TST 101. This is the second class, and we're going to do a quick review on the first class, and then some missing part two. We couldn't record properly. Some problem has happened, and then we will continue with evolutionary theory uh, for fundamentals. And I can share the slide now. So we were looking at the transdisciplinary science. What is the meaning? And then we asked where the knowledge came from. We talked about health in terms of World Health Organizations and limited perspectives in different cultures. We were talking about the different expressive knowledge. Broadly, K, the knowledge what we call is a bigger K knowledge, under which we have a smaller K knowledge, and that's the one here. And this is the only knowledge we are right now thinking that it's knowledge, and we have neglected all other knowledge that is within us, and we can expand on that. So I gave a bunch of examples about different types of knowledge. And knowledge and intellect, the basic difference is the knowledge is the kinetic energy, which is the expressing the intellect. Intellect is the potential energy that is there within us, and you cannot really measure in a sense, but it is expressed in knowledge. When you express in knowledge, it's kind of measurable. So that's the difference, at least to a certain extent, that's. Then we were talking about knowledge, what knowledge means. It could be books, learning, listening to others in general, like the modern knowledge. Then we were talking about oral traditions, which means transmitting energy only through sound, which only comes through the ears. I gave examples of mantras, classical music. So this is an amazing documentation technique, because even in general knowledge, we can make mistakes in interpreting from one book to another. If you write in a book, somebody can interpret in a different way. Whereas in oral tradition, that is being carried over from generations to generation, we can preserve the documents as it is, because it's done without mistakes. You have to precisely do that, and that's how they train the forthcoming generations. And so it's a very valuable knowledge. Just because we cannot document doesn't mean you can neglect that, and that's an amazing intellectual capability. I mean, so much of information can be gotten from this, and today we can use that kind of a knowledge for a lot of things, including Siddha, Ayurvedic practitioners, and many other form of intellectual things. I'm just giving some examples here. And traditional experience is this knowledge. Is when I'm talking about knowledge, when usually we think about just the part that we read or learn, or the thinking process, but knowledge is also in terms of your experience, your physical experience, such as you know how to do farming. That is a knowledge. That knowledge, what I'm talking about, is not the method of doing something, but the knowledge that is being imprinted in our cellular body, our muscle cells. It can work because it is trained. Your parents are trained in a certain way, so you are trained. Your muscle can do that activity. So that kind of a knowledge. It could be art, such as Bharatanatyam and many other Kuchipudi, um, Mohiniyattam, all kind of different dance forms, traditional dance forms that can be that is also in it comes through experience. You can train new people, absolutely, but traditionally, when you're doing it traditionally, it's the force is um, higher. You can do a lot. So, and that's a different kind of knowledge. They all are therapeutic, which we will be discussing in the later classes. So why I'm particularly talking about ancient Indian stuff is because it's all mostly therapeutic. You can talk about belly dance or disco or other things. Um, uh, they are from different tradition cultures, but they are not the way how Indian dances are structured. Not all every Indian dance. There are some cultural dances and things like that. That's a different story, which are also good. Let's say, but therapeutic is different when things are involved, such as you know uh, mudras and certain postures, yogic postures. Combination of that, it's a therapeutic conscious art forms. So I'm mostly talking about conscious art forms, and so I'm giving examples. Same thing with architectures, green architecture, conscious architecture such as Vastu pyramids. These all are traditional. Comes from experience, knowledge. You can construct, your child can construct that. They have it in the brain. They get that three-dimensional thinking without even looking at or going through any books or anything. They get this dimension out of them. So that is an experiential knowledge. So they all are equally valuable. And then as we were talking about intuitions, they are also part of a knowledge, the big game. So intuition, some of the intuitions can come true. You can have you can send somebody from far away, your parents or somebody, who is not feeling well, or and you are here in the United States, and your mom is old. I mean, I was able to sense my grandmother um, leave the planet. Um, I It is 1:30 in the midnight, and I saw that. I saw um, how she died, and it was not like expected in that way that I was thinking or anything. It just happened, and the intuition, comes out. So like that, you all have experiences different ways. So you cannot say that knowledge is it's based on assumptions. You don't have evidence based. All this, the modern languages that we talk about, but they all are valuable knowledge. The intuition is also valuable, and it should be respected. If somebody tells, I got this kind of thing, and you would rather respect it than say this is nothing. You don't have any evidence, things like that. So, similarly, instinct is another type of knowledge. Instinct, every species will have that instinct. Ant will have an instinct where it can get food and it cannot cross a line, or a a squirrel or any other animal, when it's crossing the road, it's very very careful. It knows that a car can come, and nobody gives this knowledge. Like nobody trains them in the beginning. Even a little one will know, and it'll instinct. If something goes, it'll try to protect itself. So basic instincts are there. So animal instinct, it could be very ferocious kind of instinct versus a mild instinct. All are there within us, and that is part of the um, things that came from animals evolution. So that means, suppose somebody ties you tightly, and you don't have any help except you have to use your teeth. So when you're doing that, it's very automatic process, right? What happens is an automatic process. So you pardon me if I'm sneezing in between. I have a little kapha formed from day before. I think it'll be clear tomorrow. So bear with me. Uh, so the this kind of knowledge about um, it is also a valuable knowledge. We have in us animal tendencies. We can become a deer, or you can fear. The fear will be there if you're becoming a deer. If you become a um, tiger, you would fear. Others will fear. Um, you will scare others. Um, so this animal instinct will be there till the end of life. Um, you cannot like completely say that I'm going to get out of it. It is just like a management, like how you have disease management. When you have anger, you'll have to manage. You cannot say that I'm coming out of anger, I want to be a very perfect person. This kind of outlook itself is very wrong. We all get angry, and we should accept that anger, and we should you shouldn't think that anger is bad, but we have to somehow control the anger. That's very important. And if you're thinking we have to be really perfect, that's also a disease. To become perfect is not um, a, a quality of even God, because as you look at the consciousness, it is starting from absolute purity, but it is having some kind of a vibration. It's a tamasic. It's not just pure, but it's very tamasic inside also. So the impurity is also already there in the consciousness. So we all will have impurity as we evolve. So then only you can see the difference between purity, impurity, and we will have impurity till the end. So it's not like we will be perfect. I mean, humans will have all the flaws, and with all the flaws, we are perfect in that way. That sense. So I was giving an example of why can we measure intelligence. So I have chosen three people very contrasted. So one of them is a Tiruvallur sage scientist, at least a 3,000 year old, who wrote, I mean, he's a major contribution. Nobody would know. Even today, there was a political thing in India, and people, when the prime minister wanted to take this image and create, as a national image, people from the south in the Tamil Nadu, they were like really, they didn't want this image, to be politicized. So that kind of, they have all the Siddha tradition. They have a big honor for Tiruvallur. and he has very advanced knowledge that he gave. So think about the chapters in for the how to do a politics. It can apply even today. Any kind of countries, it can be applied. All things are universal, such as some learning, economics. So what he did is usually, when you're eating, he will not even waste a single grain. So he used to have a toothpick, and if any rice falls, he will just pick it with the toothpick and then wash it with water, and he will eat it. So his plate will be clean plate. So I just follow his principles. Even today, even if I go to a restaurant, I see that I wash the plate and drink it. There's no rice there. So that these economic principles are, it's very simple. So like that, he has given so many things. So this intelligent, can we say that he's intelligent? So if you're asking from a modern perspective, nobody, first of all, nobody knows the old one. In even in a even in the south of India, other than Tamil Nadu, nobody knows who is Thiruvalluvar. And even in Tamil Nadu, other than the not the millennials, but other people have great respect for him. But the millennials and the next generation, they don't even care about whether what he did, what he contributed, etc. So this is like really very unpleasant, and the dimension of knowledge this person has is humongous. So I'm just giving an example of one of the sage scientists. So think about including Valalar, and he's another legend in the 18th century, Avayar in the 17th century. Like that, there are n number of the agamas. If you look at all the contribution, Arvargar and many people, that's neglected. And in modern scale, if you're trying to see this, whether this is intelligent or not, in what way you are calling it, he doesn't know physics, there is no physics contribution, or chemistry, you're connecting with the modern knowledge about anatomy, chemistry, but they also have given physics concepts, alchemy concepts, psychology. Different chapters are there, up to politics, sociology, environmentalist also they were. So all areas were being contributed, but it is not in the English language. So it doesn't mean that just because it's not in English, it's not very universal. So now there is a real need for measuring this kind of intelligence and bringing it to the world. These kind of chapters, instead of just we have so much potential. If you're integrating all the sage scientists' knowledge. On the right, you can see we have Vidwans. So these all are, so first we can talk about sage scientists. They have a different kind of knowledge, which includes like Carnatic music, Purandaradasa, or somebody who found, was the first person to find. Probably it's even before that. So when classical music, Carnatic music was thought, it is a beautiful composition of the pranayama in our body for different breathing techniques, and it makes you understand sound, what is sound, where is sound coming from, all these dimensions. So this kind of dimension, in order to hold this is a different type of knowledge you need. It's not an easy thing, in order to understand. Not that I am an expert in this, but to some extent I understand the science in how it is structured. But when you really understand that this kind of knowledge cannot be ordinarily estimated with in comparison with modern. Hey, I'm doing this music, Western music is this, we have other country music, so this is Indian music. No, this is highly intellectual. As you learn this, you will know it is connected to the breath cycle, pranayama. And then as you go deep down, you will see the dimensions of what you call the sound and energy mechanisms, how sound can travel inside your cellular membranes, make changes, changes in the brain, etc., etc. So this is a different kind of knowledge altogether. So these all are. So if you ask like what she probably did in her, this is MS Subulakshmi. So what she did in our life, probably, I mean, you cannot say she does. She knows physics, chemistry, or anything. Probably just she did a whole life just music. And so, where do we compare now with intelligence? If this is not intelligence, then what would be really intelligence? So, if this is not a thing that is in any of the modern chapters, so if I train my kids, you're training your kids on this kind of a music, which school will recognize this? And what is this kind of intelligence called? What is this intelligence going to do? So this is all part of the emotional intelligence, which I will talk to you later. It's also mindful intelligence. It's an amazing. It's not just emotional intelligence. It's also for higher consciousness. As you go deep down, it will take you to higher consciousness. So we have a sectarian of people who have preserved this knowledge, like Siddha doctors, Ayurveda doctors, classical Hindustani musics. So they all have preserved this for a long time, and that need to be respected, like including other traditional knowledges that has a new dimensions, like Vastu architecture. So they all are not preserved in a way. So they are highly intellectual dimensions. And so this is very important to understand that this is also intelligence. It's not that just by doing some computer science or applications and going to outer space, you're talking about the invasive. If you look at the invasiveness of the current science, if you really understand what sustainability means, then you will rather, the carbon, if you look at the carbon footprint that the modern thing does versus what these people have for them, it's amazing. It's also scientific. They all are doing science. There is herbal, they are making products, they are giving dimensions, they change the pattern of the brain, it involves health, etc., etc. So so it's very important to measure this kind of intelligence. So now similarly you have Martin Luther King. So I'm just giving you an example, because once this dimension of nonviolence is understood, um, it's another kind of people often say, hey, I mean, you're a vegetarian, non-vegetarian, or I'm a vegan, this kind of thing. But if you look at from a different perspective, you have different kind of people all over the world, but one of the culture has evolved from the beginning. The evolution itself has made them non-violent people. That means like a deer, it doesn't eat meat. So there is an evolutionary process there. And so that kind of process was already there so that's why in India we are talking about ahimsa and other things. It's a non-violence. Thiruvalur describes this. It's a very essential component. People in the south know that what Agathir, which is probably 7,000-year-old, versus Thiruvalur. Everybody quotes about non-violence. So we call Jiva Karunya. Jivakarunya Odakam. So a lot of things were developed by sage scientist Vallalar. Um, that dimension of Jivakarunya, extremes of Jivakarunya has been developed. So one of the things that Martin Luther King adapted was, that's in the north we call it, in India we call it ahimsa. So ahimsa is uh, what attracted one of the MLK, and therefore MLK was able to successfully change the animal instinct of a whole culture. So because he was able to control that, because he took that kind of a path. So this is a new type of intelligence, and today we are seeing that intelligence, but it's a very suppressed intelligence. I will tell you why. Veganism, for example, is in high intelligence, but it is suppressed. That's not the way to go, because I will tell you why in a later stage when I'm talking about different types of foods. So then the last one is the perspicacity, is different type of knowledge. As I told you, this is a commonly known as Trigala Jnanam. That means you're knowing all the three times, or the past, present, and the future, and you can make a quick decision based on that. So you have a problem, and you're drinking some. Suddenly, you don't have anything, but you know that whatever your friend has in their house, that will work for you. Immediately you will get a intuitive knowledge about that product, and you say, do you have that? Yeah, then give it to me, and you will drink, and then you know that it's going to cure you. So that's like an instantaneous knowledge. It's based on your past experience, present circumstance, and future consequences. You're able to pick that very quickly, and that will cure you. And that's the thing, the success will be there, the result will be there, and that kind of a knowledge is called Trigal Jnana. So I have seen people, I have met with yogis. Some of them, they will have Coke bottles and coffee and all these things. They're like normal people. And this person, he will just see an orange, and he'll pick that orange skin, he will rub it, and oh, this is, and add some Coke there, this is your medicine, go eat, and it's working perfect. So that's a different kind of intelligence altogether. So it's this is called perspicacity. So perspicacity is an higher dimension of knowledge. So this is, in the big knowledge, we are lacking these kind of things. So today there are so many things we are giving it to our kids. We do not develop all these different types of knowledge. We only look at knowledge books. You 10 times you read the same book, the anatomy will come to you. So I will give you some tests now after this. So, and with that, it will take a lot of time for you to memorize every book. So we need really a system for this, to train you for 100 years. And you can only add on something to, based on your experience from the existing knowledge. You're not able to create something, right? So somebody was asking, can you repeat the Coke example? So Coke example was like, there is uh, a Swamiji back in my place, in my hometown. So he used to, mix. He has some Coke, he's like a normal person. He, like every day, he drinks Coke and tea. Doesn't matter for him after a certain age. So he's in the agamiya karma, say, that karma will not affect him in that stage. And he will just, if you want a medicine, he will just mix two things. Here is a Coke here. This is the orange sheet. I'm going to put this in the Coke and you drink. And then I drink, the cold goes away. Very instantaneous, so that kind of medicine, So there are different kind of people, so how it worked, if you ask the question, whether it's magic or what, whether it's placebo, but it is working. That's the thing, so we'll talk about that, how that's possible. So now, excuse me, we have the final one is the wisdom. So wisdom, as I told you, it is the dimension of getting that knowledge directly from the consciousness. So we all see a lot of books written, I have seen modern gurus, they are like, oh, you know everything, there's a lot of books. I just go to one page of a book, I know that this is just copied from. See, you're manipulating things. You can do that. You can probably pick something, but then if there is no original idea added to it, then that means you haven't been in that conscious state. You can talk about a lot of things, but if you, if original ideas come directly from consciousness, it's not like in different forms of gurus we say acharyas. So acharyas are people that can repeat, parrot like parrot. So there are, you have to understand difference between different clans or different kind of guru types. For example, a sadhu sannyasi. Sadhu sannyasis are people. Sadhu is a person who will not affect anybody. He is in an ashram. He will do some puja. Or a sannyasi, he will give you something prasad, and he will perform some puja. He doesn't harm anybody. But have they realized? No. That's sadhu sannyasis, like they probably didn't realize, but they're doing something that's not very harmless. So acharyas are one who just repeat whatever. That's so many acharyas we're talking about. Whatever the guru said, same thing. It's mostly through oral tradition, but they're preserving it. To that extent, they are fine. Did they realize? Did they get the direct experience from consciousness? No. Then we have Ubadaya. These are people who have some kind of experience, but they haven't understood. Like some people, I'm meditating and my body went out. I could feel my astral body coming out and going. Some experiences, but not going to absolute consciousness. Understanding from the core of the consciousness, downloading from the absolute consciousness, right? So that is their level. And then we have the siddhas. In general, when we call siddha, it is like siddhi. They have different. There are so many thousands of siddhas. They don't even talk also. So that kind of people are, they experience and they live this. Nobody. Some of the siddhas we don't even know whether they lived or not. They just experience. They come here, experience, and then they go back. They don't even contribute. People who have experienced and went close to the consciousness and who contributed, and these are called Aryantas. So Aryantas are the ones which, the right word, it could be in Tamil, it's a different word, but when you're in Sanskrit, we can say Aryantas. This word is something that they can feel, they go close to the consciousness, they do not become the zero, they're going to point not one, and then coming back, downloading information, and so when they are coming back, they're going to give all the information to us, and again they go back. So this is their plan. So that's what they are going to create, their own kind of thing, and that's what we see from different yogis in the different siddhas. Their dimensions are very, very different. Ramana Maharshi, Vallalar, Vedatri, you can name it, Tirumandiram, Tirumular, many other alvars. So thousands and thousands, 18 Siddhas, all the Siddhas, not just 18 Siddhas, there are so many thousands of Siddhas who have contributed. It's not South India means the people think it's the 18 Siddhas. That's not true. It is a different meaning for 18 Siddhas. But there are thousands of people who contributed, and that knowledge is called wisdom. So the Haryanta is the one or the ones who contributed to the ancient knowledge. So today, because we don't have this knowledge, we have only what you call the small knowledge, K, which is came from books. And which kind of books, you tell me? Universally, all these books are contributed by the West. And then I see my math book. Somebody from the West wrote that book, and maybe I have an Indian author who did the same thing. He did not create or anything. He just copied, pasted. He did something, and maybe he simplified. But it's a Western knowledge you're talking about. So when whatever the West see, people think that only the Western people can create science and technology, and that's what science and technology is. But have you really understood what science means? So now I have a lot of questions for you. Really what science means. So which we will go next, right? So first thing is the result of this current education system. We have linear thinking. Tell you what linear thinking is, right? Which will go next. But the limited perspective about the universe, because you are made to think, believe in a certain way because of the limitedness of a culture. There is a limited perspective of how the life should be in the West, right? So that perspective is reflected in the education system, and everybody are trained towards that. You have to live this, you have to produce this, you're forming robots, right? And then there is no consciousness, because now God fear is not there. So when you come to science, you don't start your work with praying or doing anything. Your science is nothing. When you're doing physics, or you're doing prayers, or you're thinking about God, or when you're doing chemistry, do you do that? Or when you're practicing your medicine, do you think about any God? There is no consciousness. Your consciousness is completely removed, right? So so what happens is that when you remove the consciousness, you can do whatever you like. You can misuse science and technology. That's the idea. The whole idea is that you remove science, consciousness. Now there is no conscious rules, there is no ethics. You cannot, you can exceed that, you can beat everything, and you can sell everything, whatever you like, in the name of science and technology. You can create wars, but name it science and technology. You give funds for that. You can build big institute like NASA and other, you name it big, right? This is all what science and technology is doing. And in medical industries, in pharmaceutical industry, it's also a very, very destructive, non-invasive. Everything you wanted to do is chemical based, and there is no ethics there. We just want to sell the products, and all because of the fundamental things that we're not developing other forms of intelligence, intuition. We're not looking at a person's intelligence. We're not going into the invasively looking at other kind of knowledge in them to understand them better. A patient should be understood from different kind of intelligence in order to really heal them. Otherwise, it's like you're changing a car, parts of a car. You replace, take this, you put this, and this will work. But that human being is not like that. Understand? Even though you may be doing, there may be successful, it is a heart transplantation, they are doing very successfully. That's a different thing. You don't know what it's going to take and what are the things that are involved, because you don't understand the science behind how energy works. I mean, there are so many things that happen when energy works, and how energy system, I can give you examples in a later stages when we are talking about how physical transformation and all. That's like integrated practices, so we'll talk about that later, so removed, then removed conscious and based, and then sectarianism is the monocultural perspective. As I told you, it's based on the one cultural culture, when they think, okay, this is like rich versus a poor kind of thing. It's like, okay, I have the money, I can do whatever I like. This is how. So most of the things are coming from, imagine, rich countries. It's not considered from countries. You haven't asked traditional knowledges. You haven't knowledge from the countries such as Africa. You haven't considered what they have in their mind, their perspective. Different tradition, Native Americans, they have their own feelings, and they have their own medicine and other things. So it's not just for Indian best thing. Even it's a very rich culture. Overall, the traditions, many traditions are suppressed because of the way the modern thing operates. It marketed so quickly, so fast, it collapsed everything. Every tradition has been suppressed across the globe. So creativity, we haven't created anything. It is just mix and match. This is like your permutation combinations. With that only we are doing. There is no intuition there. See, if you look at Einstein and all, he is kind of a sage scientist. Like Tesla and all are like, those kind of days are not there. Today, if you look at all scientists, you have to read a book. There is a deadline for them. There's no, dimension of thinking that is very natural to them. They don't meditate in the sense. Meditate in the sense, I'm not talking about, even Einstein meditates, which is a different kind of meditation. But it is kind of connecting to the universe and getting that knowledge is very different from the modern scientists, and that's what we are doing right now. And so let's go for a test. Okay, so you tell me, where are the legs of the tree? You can type down. I'll tell you whether you're doing a linear thinking or a non-linear thinking. So the legs of the tree are under the earth. Srini, branches good, hands and legs. Okay. Roots of the tree. Okay. Okay. All right. So why roots? So roots are the legs. Yeah. Trees don't walk. Okay. So they don't have legs. That's fine. Okay. Spread in earth as roots. Well, let's see. So the ancient perspective for looking at this is very different from modern perspective. Their answers are very, very different. So like Srini was telling, the roots, the branches or the legs, basically. So the legs are nothing but the branching outside. The head is inside. Basically, trees and plants are doing what is called Sirsasana. So, and because this perspective is gone, the evolution, our linear thinking is that we have developed, talking trees. And the way we have developed it is, our linear thinking is that up is this, and down is this, down. So in ancient perspective, we are looking at a three-dimensional perspective. A three-dimensional perspective is a very non-linear spherical harmonics, and they look from very different perspective. And here you see, if you look at a beetroot or some other plants, like a tube, so their legs are out and the face is inside, and they want to stretch out because they don't have freedom. You see, they don't have animals, plants do not have freedom. They are stuck. So when can they be free? When they start to walk. So they see, this is an evolution. This is another form of evolutionary theory, that from plants how animals come, because when they try to bend, they want to bend, these things become the legs and they wake up. So initially they are like this, and then they go up. You see all the animals in the, like pig and other animals, they are like this, right? So in the initially, that's how evolution happens from our ancient science. Evolution happens from plants, because the plant has the thinking that I should be free, and that's what builds the even the worms start to develop from there. It's an evolutionary process, and that's how the next level comes. They start to walk, and that walking is not enough, they need other things, and that's how all evolution process starts. So this fundamental thinking, because we are taught in a process that top is top, down is down, and now it's very difficult for us to change that. We have, the education system trains us with a very young age, because we have north south, this kind of dimension. In ancient science we have 8 dimensions, and it's also spherical harmonics. It's not a 2D, it's a 3D basically. From that perspective, so the next question would be this: if you understand this, you can do a lot of things. Perspective completely changes. So here, you tell me which side is up. Where are you? Tell me which side is up. Tell me, where is the sky? Tell me, where is the sky? You can tell me whether, so I have given you campus here. So whether the sky is in the north, west, east, or south. Where's the sky? Where is your sky? What is the normal thinking? What is your normal thinking? Exactly. Sky is all around us, 360 degrees. So that means our thinking, we think usually that we are on top like this. We are hanging somewhere here, but still we think we are only on the top. So this thinking of top and down, up and down, is really a fake thing that has been ingrained in us, in linear thinking. So if you look at a Umatida, the compound eye of a locust or grasshopper, they can see things. I mean, same eye, they have different compound. They can see whole thing in a 3-dimensional fashion. So that capability, we have it. And that's why when we say somebody to meditate, you have a difficulty meditating in some dimension. We ask you to meditate in one dimension, they were like, oh, I cannot think, can you expand your mind and meditate? Can you go beyond the the planet. Well, I don't know how to go beyond the planet. It's very difficult, hard for me. So this knowledge is lacking because of our linear thinking. We are made to think that up and down is real. This is how we have to think. You have north, south, this kind of thing. There are better ways of doing this. We can create better education system at earlier stage for kids, so we can look from a 360-degree perspective all the things in the planet. Then you have a new dimension of thinking for the whole thing. So today we have what is called linear thinking. So linear thinking is part of a tradition all over the world. We are trained to that. So let's see another one. Can you give a catchy phrase for this picture? Can you give a catchy phrase for this picture? Catchy phrase. I'm not asking anything. Even more catchy. What does it do? What does the lungs do? What does the lungs do? Can you tell what does the lungs do? So we have the lungs breathe. So here in this phrase, it could be the earth is breathing, but this is a wrong concept. I'll tell you why the earth. We are associating that this is a limited perspective of anatomy. So when you are breathing, we have been told that the lungs breathe from very little age because of the modern anatomy. So therefore, we do not understand that our belly breathes. The breath goes up to the toe, both toes, and our legs breathe. Think about it. So this is the ancient anatomy. So if you understand from a different way, you cannot really think that. So modern makes you believe the more and more repetitive. Now automatically the phrase will come, the earth is breathing and the lung is the representation of things, because lung is basically meant for breathing. That's not the thing. It is also one of the organs. The breath is going everywhere throughout the body, and it is, you can breathe wherever you can concentrate. You can breathe. If you concentrate on your brain, that's how the whole kind of the pranayama comes. You can breathe anywhere, any part of the world as you concentrate. So when you concentrate, you can take the breath to different places. So now let's go to emotional intelligence before we skip to the evolution process. A little bit of emotional intelligence, which comes from the what you call the last thing that we looked at, in intelligence. So in intelligence, we call emotional intelligence. We looked at, I think, give me a second. One of the slides says missing here. So I will go to this. So you'll know I'm talking about this slide here. Emotional intelligence, sustainability, all part of the knowledge. So here I'm talking about an intelligence that only it's talking about emotional intelligence. What really it means from an ancient perspective. Okay, so I'm also only talking about mostly ancient perspective. it could have modern things. So emotional intelligence, if you ask, somebody, your kid, um, you're asking your kid, what did you do for homework? Did you do your math good, or finish your homework? All these things. But if you didn't teach the kid, can you wait for the people, your somebody friends are coming? Can you wait till they come? We can eat later, and the kid doesn't care. He's or she's hungry, and she eats. So this was not the case. If you take a few years back, we used to wait for somebody till evening. uh, it doesn't matter whatever day time, if they come at 1 o'clock in midnight, um, we really, we don't mind waiting till they come, and after that only we eat. So what is this? Is that an intelligence or not? It is. It's called emotional intelligence. That's a dimension of intelligence. So today we are lacking. Millenniums, and kids, we don't train them that way. And they don't ask whether do you have food or not. Anywhere they go, they just grab some food and they eat. They don't care about whether people have enough food for everyone else. All these questions. So they're not asking whether, mom, you're tired, you're doing so much of work, can I help you a little bit? I clean this? You look to be these questions. So because of the lack of any other intelligence forms, we are only developing the knowledge, that kind of intelligence, and that's going to be a very dangerous thing for the whole society. It's going to take you somewhere. So there are many things, or you can say what emotional intelligence gives mostly, is you can form it gives you a lot of creativity. You're creative at that moment. You can solve your problem, and any kind of problems, when you develop this intelligence. And you can forgive yourself and others, because that's a dimension. In order to be healthy, you need to first forgive yourself. Only then you can forgive others. And that's possible. That's one of the emotional intelligence, is that forgiving itself is an emotional intelligence. And then you'll be aware of what, you'll be mindful of every situation. Everything you will notice in a three-dimensional way. You look at, okay, what's happening. It's not just about me eating, it's about somebody else is having. Or even you think beyond that, every day I'm eating this, but maybe people, they don't have food every day, not even a so this dimension of thinking, these all are emotional intelligence. It's not a measurable thing. It's just that the quality you wanted to create human beings, good human beings. So school systems do not check these kind of things. They do not develop this intelligence, and the curriculum is not meant for that. Adapting to changing circumstances. Suddenly something happens. Today's kids, they don't know what to do. If the water flows, they don't know how to handle this. So once I was in my college. We went to a presentation to Assam from Tamil Nadu, and we had a train. Um, there was a leakage in the toilet, and it started to leak everywhere, and nobody is helping. The train started, the TTR and other people, they're not doing anything, and it started to flow everywhere, water. So what do? I just went and fixed that myself. I put my hand inside, and the reason is that, to me, that there's nothing like this kind of intelligence came from my mother, who doesn't feel anything. This is bad. This is, it's just that you solve the problem when there is a need. So the adapting to some sudden changes. It could be the flexibility of somebody coming to your house, and you wanted to adjust with them. All these things are lacking in the modern community. They just, kids want their own rooms, you know. So we are like really losing all this type of intelligence, and we are only creating some robots, bunch of in modern thing we call morons. That's what we are doing basically. In our kids, what we are doing, the modern system is just creating a bunch of morons. Emotional self-efficacy. You have to balance yourself. And balance the emotions. You have temptations for you. You have temptation. I want to do this. This is candy. I want, but you are not controlling that. Oh, the modern civilization, the culture teaches us. Oh, you can eat whatever you like. There's no end for it. How do you balance your temptations? How do you balance that? So these are a very important thing. We have given training in the ancient cultures, have given training how to be without food from young age. And then, you see something and then they don't give until you do something, they will not give that. So until then, they will have to wait. You cannot eat something just like that. But today we are not doing that. It's not suppressing, it's just we have to train to that kind of an intelligence. And that's very much needed for the current society because of the things that are happening because of the lack of intelligence. So these are few examples I wanted to share with you. So all this intelligence comes from the evolutionary fundamental particles. So when we are evolved from the conscious space, we have different kind of energy particles, which will go in detail in the next week. Next week on Tuesday. So these are the fundamental energy particles that we have in our body. Most these are the what we call the Akash energy particles, and the number of energy particles that are rotating clockwise versus anti-clockwise determines, depending on the speed and everything, the emotional intelligence is developed. So everybody has a male and a female component. Whether you're male or female doesn't matter. We all have a male and a female component within us. And today we have as female also start to bring their male part as an intelligence. They So that's what is happening. In the name of women empowerment, we try to really think that, oh, okay, we have to drive, we have to learn driving, I have to go and do this industry job, and I have to do weightlifting, I can do biking, and now I am equal. And we have not thought the other way around. Why can't men do cooking? Why can't men do farming? Why can't they do parenting? When they do this kind of thing, that's how you balance. It is not empowering, is not doing the manly thing, by women. So this empowerment is the other way. It's that we have to empower the men, is not the women. Men have been, with ego and everything, they have developed their own kind of egoistic intelligence, and that's what has collapsed, right? That's why we call it his story. It's not her story, right? So we are so it is the today we have a misunderstanding in how this should be solved. So we have to look from a very different perspective about this. We'll go into very deep knowledge about the spin in the next class. So with this, I wanted to ask you, if I ask you I will keep your test. So can you tell which one from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9? Can you tell me which one is emotional intelligence and which one is not? Or I can tell you, like, can you tell me which one is male and which one is female? Motherly and fatherly. You can type down. Can you type down? You understand what I'm saying? So can you tell me which one is an okay. Well, let's see. So driving is a driving is both. Well, driving is why both. So let's define this way. Whatever causes a carbon footprint is a male. That is the structure. We have to do that. There's nothing that you cannot stop that, but whichever causes a bigger footprint, that is male. Whichever nurtures, and like for example, cooking. Cooking is that it's not destructive. It is a constructive mechanism, right? So there is a difference between that. When you take a driving a car, you're going to kill so many things. You need to lay roads, so then so many industries are needed to develop the car. You're going to go for petrol, dig down deep. So the amount of pollution that you're going to create is humongous. So you think from that perspective, right? So now you can look at teaching inorganic chemistry. Well, teaching by itself is a profession itself is a what you call a female profession, which means it is I mean feminine profession, which is good. Feminine is always nurturing, motherly, but inorganic chemistry is a male. Industry in general, industry is a male. For example, your knitting is a female. It could be done by anybody. Pottery is a female. These are industries. It's self-sustainable. Working in a jeans company produces a lot of chemicals, silica poisoning and everything. So you may be working, you may be folding something there, or you're doing a software there, but still, whatever you do, you're contributing to that, the male component, and it's creating a lot of problems for the planet. Construction engineering, yes, it is destructive. You can do some natural materials and things. So what we need to do now, there is a destruction happening in one way. One way we have to form the intelligence. The motherly component should be more. We should increase that. And the fatherly component should be turned into a greener technology, greener way, so less non-invasive technology. Then you have a balance. So right now what is happening is that the motherly component is completely missing. Everyone is switching towards fatherly. There are more contributors to the masculine than the female, and this, like, it is come very drastically down. Maybe 20% are doing the feminine job in the world, and that's what creating a lot of problems in the world. And so if you really understand that there is no need for argument or empowering, you know what empowerment means. You can be empowered just by what you're doing here. So let's look at the evolutionary tree. It's a very general tree here, what evolution is. So we have to look at how this ancient knowledge, from a modern perspective, we generally look at protozoa, coelenterata, all these things. I hope you all remember those things, amphibians and all these things. These all are naming. It's not really an real form of evolution. It is only giving evolution for the physical form of things, and it's developed based on that. Okay, so now give me a second. Something. Again, I don't want my computer to crash. So let me. All right. So let's give a 5 minutes break. I'll get back to you. So 5 minutes, we'll take a break and then come back. Okay, so everybody in. All right. So before going to the evolution, let's see if you can do a very simple meditation technique. So what, let me stop the sharing. Okay. So we'll do a simple meditation technique. So let's see if we are able to think in 3 dimension. As I told you, this is an intellectual thing to, we have been thinking linearly, and therefore we have a limitation in how we perceive things around us. And we can develop that, the 3-dimensional nonlinear thinking. So you will have a different kind of intelligence after that when you're doing this kind of meditation down the line, say 10 years down the line. You will have a whole new perspective for the globe. You can see everything together. It's not that you're limiting to certain things, certain belief system. You can see the truth in everything as it is, and you can do wonderful things. So let's see how we can do this simple thinking process. You can call it meditation, but I mean, people who don't like meditation, it's fine. This is a training, different training, to develop a different kind of intelligence, a nonlinear thinking process. Okay, so let us imagine. Can you think a the moon? Can you think the moon? Okay. What is the size of the moon you're thinking? Probably small size. So can you make the size of the moon really big? Let's see if you can make the size of the moon really big. Can you think the moon without thinking the earth? The earth is not in the picture. And let's keep all the planets far away. The only thing that you see on the earth, the universe, is the moon. And surrounding it's just black, dark, no light. Can you just see the moon as big as possible? As you are imagining this new moon, you're also breathing. The only thing you can listen to is your breath. Can we focus the breath on the moon as if you're breathing? As you breathe out, you expand to the surface of the moon. As you breathe in, go to the center of the moon. Breathe out in 3-dimensional in all sides. expand like a balloon, become the size of the moon. And when you breathe in, go to the center of the moon, to the core. Breathe in slowly. Become the moon as huge as possible, as huge as you can imagine. And as you breathe out slowly, shrink down and then come to the center of the moon. Breathe in, out, breathe in, out. Do not allow any doubt or any other thinking. Just continuously focus on that. Do not give up on that. In, now in, you expand. Out, you come to the center. In, expand to the surface of the moon. Out, come to the center. In, out, in, out, in, out. Now stop your breath at out. In the center, in the core. You're stopping your breath. In, expand and stop your breath at the surface. Hold your breath. Out, come to the center. Hold your breath. In, surface. Hold. Out. Now just expand when you say out. In, go beyond. In, out also continues to expand. Do not come out. Out also you continue to expand as much as possible. In and out both are expanding. In, Out, you're going beyond the moon. In, out, expand further. In, out, in, out, in. Keep on expanding. Forget anything except your expansion. Forget your breath. Do not concentrate on the breath, just your thought keeps expanding, expanding, expanding in 3 dimension in all directions, 360 degrees. Now come back to the planet. Look at our Earth. Come to awareness. Come to your physical body. Feel that you're here. Now spread the energy throughout the body. Shanti, Shanti. Gently rub your hands. Do eye palming. Rub it all over. So now let us look at the, hope you're able to focus. In the beginning, it will be a tough process to think this way. And as you keep on doing this, at certain point, your pattern, your brain, everything changes. It's a 3-dimensional, you're doing 3-dimensional exercise. Remember, so your brain always think this way, one way, not giving training to other direction, because you cannot expand in all directions if you don't know how to do that. And that limits your thinking process. When you expand in all directions, you look the problem from different perspectives to solve. Otherwise, you'll have only one type of, oh, this if I do this, linear thinking, like how doctors give you medicine. Now you look from karma, what you ate, what you did last night, what's your lifestyle, etc., etc. That's, you can give a solution for everything in this planet from that perspective. So now let's go to the evolution. So the modern perspective in general is just about the physical body, that's evolving. From ancient perspective, we have the huge chapter, but we'll start here and then we'll go deeper down. It's all based on the I don't know where to keep this. It's escaping. Okay, that's what I got best. So let's say, how did the whole universe form? Before going to the evolution history, universal, the universe evolution, let's come to the animals and planets, evolution of animals and planets. So, first thing, how do we differentiate between a plant and a non-living thing and a plant? So we all learned in biology from Western modern perspective, living things breathe, living things do that, living things do this, and we know that to certain extent what living thing is. There is some definition, but that definition alone is not enough to define what a plant is, trees, etc. Animals are. So animals and the plant kingdom has something called the um, uh, the karma box. It is called the genetic center. So that is where the difference between the elements and the plants come. So if you why can you hurt a stone? I mean, you couldn't hurt a stone because stone doesn't have a it does have some kind of impact, but it'll reflect back to you, but it doesn't receive by itself as a living consciousness. That living consciousness of pain comes when it is a tree or a plant. So that is based on one chakra. So that's the Muladhara chakra is developed. That is where the genetic center is. The first type of chakra that is developed in a body is in a plant. So a plant has one chakra. I mean, you could say two chakras. One chakra is the in evolution. We all know about Panjabhutas. Most of you will go deeper into. We'll always be talking about Panjabhutas whole class. I haven't gone into that fundamentals yet. That will be next week. But generally, you have to know what Panjabhutas are. Most of you have this experience, I guess. At least few. If you don't know, the principles are different states of matter. They are called Panjabhutas. In ancient science, when you're talking about Panjabhuta, most people think that Panjabhuta means earth, water, fire, then the air, and then something else, Akash, like sky. That's not Panjabhutas. Panjabhutas means that different states of matter, like modern science, we learn in chemistry what are the three states of matter. We say solid, liquid, gas. These are states of matter elements. So in ancient science, they didn't know to express in that way. They have understood clearly there is no need for expressing that way because the people lived that tradition. So there is no need. Today we have a need because we are into modern education. So we have been, our thought process is in the modern thing. So we need to explain in different way. That's why there is a need. So what it really means is that the 5 elements are 5 states of matter. So think about, do we have solid body in our solid parts in our body? So anything solid is a state of matter. It could be bones, your nadis, your flesh. All these are solid parts. Remember, solid, semi-solid. These are one type of Buddha. It's called the earth. Earth doesn't mean soil. Soil is also earth. It is also solid. Stones are solid. Planet, solid planets are solid. Metals are solid. So when you're talking about a state of matter, whatever is hard, that is called the solid state of matter, and that's represented by the earth, Prithivi, right? In Sanskrit we call it Prithivi. So so then we have the liquid state of matter. So liquid state of matter, outside you can see liquid rainwater, snow, or you can snow is partially solid, you can say, but you can see the different ocean or sea water or well water or something inside a plant, a blood inside a caterpillar, a different kind of liquid, or in an animal, or the blood that is going on inside us. Not just blood, you can say there is different components like cerebrospinal fluid or synovial fluid or vital fluid, anything in your body. They all are liquid forms. So that is a state of matter. So this is a second state of matter. So do you agree with this? So we have two states of matter right now, at least. And the third one is the fire. So fire is something. Where is fire? Outside. I don't see fire like earth and water. But what is volcano inside the earth? What is giving you the temperature? According to ancient science, the temperature that we are getting is from the earth, inside the earth. The temperature of the earth has a particular temperature, the earth. So that temperature is coming from, the heat is produced from the fire inside the earth. You can see, like, even if you dig deeper, geothermal electricity and all these things we are getting because of the heat that is produced underneath. So as you go deep down into the core, it's just a volcanic thing. It's a liquid fire, highly fire. And you can get the other source of fire is the sun. Sun is also a fire. And if you look at many other planets, there, whatever is causing stars, all are fires. In our body we have fire, we have our Agni. Do we see fire? Why can't we see fire like other things? Fire is not seen in general. Fire has different colors. If you're have you seen blue fire? Children who have done some experiment underwater fire and all, you can even produce green color fire. Different electromagnetic spectrum can be produced. We usually see orange, red, yellow kind of fires, because the fire, we are not seeing fire, we are seeing the excited molecules, the light only. Fire is underneath. So fire is not that we are seeing the excited molecule. So different thing gives different fire. So fire is a hidden thing. So you cannot see fire. Only when you're exciting, it'll give you the color, depending on that. So that's why we have fire. We are not able to see that. And you can only know that by when you're eating, it's digesting. It converts that food, it converts in another form. Or when your skin is glowing, you have cages. That's a different fire. For looking at something, your eyes need fire transformations. So these are the different fires. And then you have air. The air is nothing but the as I told you, we are not just the lungs. We are breathing everywhere throughout our bodies. There are nadis described, 72,000 nadis. Vata nadis are everywhere. It goes all the way onto. So we have limited perspective of how air travels, and that's why people have problems. We all are short breath people because of our limited perspective. So yesterday, one of the speakers was talking about in our webinar about conditioning of an elephant. How a young elephant, even if it's tied with a small chain, he believes that it cannot escape from that, because from young age we are conditioning. Same thing, breath. We have limitations in how we think that we can breathe. So therefore, people don't know what deep belly breathing is. So you have a problem because of that. Because breath, the air need to go everywhere in our body. And air is, of course, it is doing by itself. But because of our limited thinking, we are keeping the air only in our lungs. Okay. So outside, if you look at, there are different vayus. There are more than 14 plus, like close to 18 vayus, they say, in ancient science. They have named those vayus also, like oxygen, nitrogen, and all. Different vayus are there, which we'll see in the higher courses. We talk about how vayus move in different directions, etc. So similarly, outside we have different kind of air. We call it a breeze, we call it a tornado. It could be a wind, anything. Those are different forms of air. And then we have the Akash. So the Panchaputas, the Akash is the fundamental energy particle that is there. Even if you remove everything, without the Akash, there is no you. That means your energy, your soul, life force is what the Akash is. And the Akash is also there in external particles, external objects. So that Akash is what is called Shakti outside us. and inside is us. We are limited shaktis within using that, depending on the how much energy particles we have, and that also determines our life. Depending on how much energy particles we are acquired, that is the time how long you want to live. So when all the energy particles stop, your death starts. You know, so that's the life force that we are having. So that is called astral body. So if you take this, all these four bodies, the other four bodies, the earth, water, the air, and the fire, they are one. We can call it that whole thing is a physical body mostly, and you can take this as an astral body mostly, right? So the astral body by itself, it can expand. It can have subtler bodies like causal body and other forms of bodies. But we are now, let us look into how each one, yeah, operates in different things. For example, a plant, a tree, or a plant, it has only one sense. It has an akash, and the akash, as each one transforms, each of these five panjabhutas elements, they transform into a something. It's called a magnetic transformation, which we'll go into deeper, because at this level you won't be understanding. I have to go through the evolution to process quickly to do this, but later on we'll go in depth. So here we're only seeing that how one Buddha is transformed into its subtler particles. So, if, for example, in the solid, the energy particles that are rotating in a solid, they produce what is called smell. Okay, so in our body we have solid energy particles, and that's why, because of that only, we are able to smell. Okay, because they produce a transformation of smell, and because of the liquid we are able to taste. Because of the fire we are able to see through our eyes, and because of the air we are able to smell, hear the sound and listen, right? And because of the akash we are able to feel, touch. So these are the five transformations that are happening. So in order for us to become a complete human being, there's an evolutionary process in how the chakra in our body is structured. So first thing, the evolution starts with plants. So when the plants are evolved, they have only one sense. That's the sense of touch. They can only feel, and to some extent, they can go to a mutated level where they can listen to sound and other kind of forms, or they can become, they can taste. For example, a picture plant, sundial plant. These are carnivorous plants, right? But generally, in that plant, you have what is called a genetic center. That is the first form of life where you do a karma. So the karma exactly starts from a plant. Even though you have karma, it's what you call the Panjabhuta karmas are there. That karma will come till the end. But in general, that karma comes as a character. But here, this is coming as an imprint. That imprint will give good or bad, will depend on that, what the tree does or anything. So the tree is imprint. So tree will do a limited kind of imprint. And so tree, because it cannot move that much, it has a feeling. So feeling, whatever it feels around, that is an imprint. So it receives that in the genetic center, which is the karma box, like a black box in a airplane, right? So that is called so the chakra is already developed in a plant, in the seed. So it has a genetic center. So it produces a lot of seed. It is created in the root. From the root, it can create a lot of seed, things to the on the surface. It will give the fruits and then the seed. So the seed, that each one has a genetic character of that plant. It is hidden in if you have a bean, it will become a bean. If you seed the bean, if you have a mango tree, it will not become something else. So all the qualities of that, so the karma box is the information center where it observe whatever the tree does. That experience is there as a feeling, right? A tree sees some animals coming and hurting, it has a feeling that it is going to die, and that feeling of fear is there. That is recently also tested, like what happens if you person goes and cuts the tree and they found the electrical impulses, that's changing. When next time he goes, it'll have a different kind of electrical impulse. Great, in German based, I think it's few years back, 10 years back or something, they did a experiment. So people are doing that kind of an experiment here. So the trees have a chakra that is formed, which has a genetic center, but that is, without that it cannot, but it is inactive, which means the chakra is not transformed into a transformation, such as it cannot. The Muladhara chakra is earth based, so the earth based is smell. It should supposed to smell, but it doesn't. So it will be inactive there. But then the active chakra will be the other chakra. So the agaya, or akash, is another chakra that is developed, and that is what it can touch, feel and touch. Then if you look at the next level, we can see there is an intermediate level before it goes to another one. The tree itself tries to taste, and these are the carnivorous tree. And then some of them become vegetarians, and that's how the next evolution comes. So when they start wanted to move, they become caterpillars and other kind of worms, and they have two senses in addition to that. That is the sense of taste. So when taste sense is formed, the Muladhara Swadhisthana, because taste has to be formed with the liquid part. So the second chakra is formed. So Swadhisthana is the chakra. If you look at in the ancient literature, Mayan Brahmano Rudran Mageshanod Ayun Siva Murti Ayin Siva Murtium Aindu. So Siva Murtium Aindu. So that means these are the 5 people, like Brahman, Vishnu, Rudran, Mageshan and Shivan. They compare that with the different Panchabuddhas, so that is not, it is just a name for they have given that is in a God form, when they're giving. So that's why when we are meditating, people who have done Kundalini and all, they ask you to do meditate. Okay, this is Brahma, this is Vishnu, one each chakra, you do some concentrate on them. Basically, it's talking about their naming about the liquid part, and liquid is like Vishnu is sleeping, so they have associated with that kind of a thing, giving a personifying, or bringing an image there, right? Basically, it's a very scientific thing. And so the transformation here, it happens is not only from the Muladhara, the Swadhisthana will also have what is called the liquid, which can taste. And then, like butterflies and bees and other insects, they will start also they smell. This evolution process, they start to develop into smell. And then there is always a mutation linker in between. For example, from smell, they will also go to reptiles. So many of the reptiles, including ants, ants can also see. If you look at, they have the but some of the reptiles, for example, reptiles like snakes, they don't have ears, outer ears, but they have inner ears. So that is a development stage where they can go to next level. So they are called mutation linkers. They are in between. So then the next level comes, which completely they can hear. So the transformation from one level to another slowly comes, and you have like all of the chakras of two animals. Animals will also have chakras, and that's how human beings can be formed. So this different chakras, 5 chakras will be there in animal, and some of the animal even extend to close to the sixth chakra, and that's why the linkers are there. For example, those who are, monkeys, dogs, or even cats could, because they become very close to whoever, when they evolve, when they become close to human beings like cows and all, they start to develop this slowly. The chakra, five chakras, started to develop another kind of third eye chakra, which is agna, in between the eyebrows. So each chakra is associated with the development. So the evolution is not just a physical body. It is not only physical body, it's also the subtler body inside at the which develops different kind of chakras, so that when you come to a human being, you have the third eye developed. So here we see that in an animal like five sense animals, they can do sight, sound, taste, smell, touch, and taste. But what can human do? What is the sixth sense that we can do? So human beings, this is Avai Kural. So I mean, if you don't know Tamil, that's fine. But I just wanted to explain. This is nothing but all the five things are related. So the next level, what Avai talks about, is how the whole thing is formed from these Panchabhutas, which we'll see next week. So here, the third eye, I should have put it 5T here before going to 60. So this third eye is a development for a human being, which is so the chakra system is nothing but it's an evolutionary process that come from the plants, and we have all the information from the plant. Plant does one karma, which is only touch. When it goes to caterpillar, the carbon footprint increases. It does two kind of karmas, which also taste, and that experience is there. It will taste different things. Six tastes are there, so it will have that experience. When it comes to the next level of fire, it can see light, and you can see all kind of different 7 colors of light, and those all are reflected there. And then when that is the like flying butterflies and bees, etc. And then the reptiles, ants, they have the capability to see also. So their transformation of seeing, so the light is formed. So the fire, yeah, after fire, then you have the sound is formed in the animals, hearing and everything. So that transformation is formed, and then the next level is the mind for human beings. So if you look at, like, humans have all these capabilities. So we have all this, we can taste. So each one, taste means this, sound means how much, smell means, so Mooladhara we can smell. Smell is also usually the associated with taste, which is 6. So different types of pungent smell, that smell, astringent smell. So smell is usually also as 6. So like that, touch is usually 2. They find that maybe it is 3. So it is only explained in Marmakale. Okay, so there are the certain numbers they talk about each one, how many are there, and they have a number calculation with that. So those things we can go in detail. So now the whole thing is that we have come to a place where I don't know what we are in terms of time. Are we running out of time? Okay. So the whole so why, I mean, so now there is a need for learning things. Instead of learning different things, we have to think and learn differently, and that's what the thing we are going to do for the next class. So we are going to start with the how the science was formed in the West, based on what, and then we will be talking about more references about how ancient Indian science was developed, and what are the evolution, how did it come. We are going to prehistoric, before the animals and all formed the universal evolution, right? History of the universe, and different theories from different Western theories. And then we will also talk about the ancient theory, how it was developed from the beginning, the meanings of God, etc. We'll be discussing in the next class. So now I open for a couple of questions if you have any. You can chat, or I can, if you raise your hands, I can unmute you. Any questions? Yes. Okay. Yes. Go ahead, please. Shrutika. Yeah. You have a question?
Yeah, this is Sindhu. So emotional intelligence, right?
Yes. Yeah.
How do we develop? Is it just based on what we teach the kids? Because the emotional intelligence for the human beings in this generation.
See, emotional intelligence is a natural state of us, because emotional intelligence comes from consciousness. See, consciousness has a different characters. One is force. Force is part of consciousness, and force is a masculine. You can talk about the greatness of how the universe formed, and all based on force. It's a little destructive. That's the tamasic. But there is a compassion in that consciousness. That is the undergoing motherliness of the consciousness. That's why we call in Indian philosophies, we have Shakti. We pray Shakti, Amba. We call it. What it really means is just the consciousness. We're looking in from a mother form. When we look at mother form, it's all emotional intelligence, completely emotional intelligence. So that is the, if you remove the amount of the masculine intelligence today we have is so much that we are also developing this for women and everybody. So we have 80% like that. So we do not develop. That's why the naturally we have that. We don't have to develop. We naturally have that. If we just remove the masculine part, the rest left will be the emotional intelligence. It is in a very natural. There is no need to develop, but we could develop. In principle, to some extent we can develop, but that's naturally at some point it'll align to that consciousness. Naturally, the consciousness is very compassionate. It is forgivable. It is having forgiveness, the quality of forgiving. And we do not see that as a feminine. We do not see consciousness as a mother. We think that consciousness will punish you and all these things, instead of seeing like it can forgive us. It's a mother. It's like our mother. Even a ordinary mother can forgive us. Think about the consciousness, which is the mother of everybody, how much it can do to us. And that intelligence, when you forgive, when you become compassionate, you become close to that consciousness, and then you will be loved, and you will be getting that emotional intelligence ultimately. So that's how you start to meditate. You start to, all this energy, you can use the meditation energy to even wars. You can fight. You can do a good meditation, and you can go and shout at your, it'll work. You can just collapse everybody. It's all possible. We have seen in the history in India. But you can use that meditative energy for kindness, love, expressing into, when we bring the feminine quantity, that is where we can really, we should have more feminine quality, maybe 70% or so above, because the 30% cannot be avoided. Men quality will be there. That's the destructive nature of that consciousness. But today it is shifted the other way, and that's why we have the problem. So we can develop that. Yeah. So slowly you can do some things. You can train. We can train on certain things to how to do this. Explain them in a little way, in a modern way. If you only talk about emotional intelligence, they know it's emotional intelligence. Otherwise, if you tell them to do certain thing, they will not do. Why? They will ask why, and you will not answer. Why we have to wait? I'm hungry. I want to eat. They will say, right? Why should I wait for that people who are coming? Who cares about them? Right? I'm hungry. I want to eat. So that means their component is missing in them. They're not able to think beyond that. So when you say this is waiting is an emotional intelligence, it will give you a lot of things. What happens when you're waiting? Your magnanimity increases, and it has a result. It's all today. It's all result driven. It's a good karma. When you do that, it's a good karma. You can understand the feelings of people. When they're not eating, how. So it will develop other forms of intelligence in us, so we can serve. Planet better. You can be a good doctor, a good engineer, etc., etc. Okay, any other questions quickly? Hope I answered yours partially. Any question? Anybody else? There's no questions. You can, let's see if somebody has a question. Okay, all right, so no questions, then there's a question here. Let's see. Thank you very much, Shan, for the wonderful experience. Okay, Dhanashekhar, thank you so much. Okay, so okay, very interesting class. All right. Okay. All right. So I think we can end this class today, and next week we'll go into the. Yes, Suriji, you have a question? Yes, go ahead, please. You want me to unmute? I can unmute you. Let's say some people. Yeah. So let's take one more question and then.
Yes, my question is there any way like we can get the slides or anything?
Yeah, well, I see what I usually do is, for the people who have registered for our courses, we do provide a slide. We give them online access to all those slides that will be on the, we'll also have materials. You can go to our website you will get a user ID and password, so you can log in, and we will, yes, of course, you will be getting, you will register for the full course. So you will be getting that, yes.
Okay.
Because we cannot, now there are people who are temporarily attending also, who are keen, interested to take this. Once they are interested, then we will give them user ID, password, so they can access to our website, and we will have also additional materials supporting this. It's
Sure.
whole, yeah.
Okay, I'll
Okay.
register then.
Okay.
Thank you.
I attended the class a little late today. Are you planning to share the video? Yes, I'm planning to share the video. Definitely for a year onwards, we will be sharing all the videos, and till the 2 weeks, we'll be sharing those videos, and then after that, I'm going to make it private. Once the 15 days is fine, because then till before that you wanted to watch anything is fine. After that, we're going to make it private. Only few people can, who are registering, they can see this. It's not that we don't want you to see or anything, but it's just that we have our course structure planned, and we want this to be, because you can take a lot of information and people can use in different forms. I have seen it's coming back, and then again you have to learn the same thing, and you have to pay millions of dollars for that. It's coming in another form, new words, that's it, and then you translate that also in Indian language, and you'll be learning. So you have to really, I don't want this to be misused, anything else. So okay, all right, so thank you all. Hope you'll enjoyed this class, but next week your feedback, comments are appreciated. You can type down, if you like the class. If you did not like, also we can improve on that. Okay, that's fine, absolutely fine. So your comments are very important. Thank you so much. Have a good night.